The 2024-2025 college basketball regular season is in the books. Hello, I am your host, Noah Love. This is the Don't Argue with the Facts podcast, and it is Sunday night. Bids have been clinched for the NCAA tournament. The regular season is done. The conference tournaments are set, and there's now 1 week until the selection show, and that we have a bracket. Yes, at this time next week we will finally have a March Madness bracket. Today we will be talking about everything college basketball. I know there's a lot of NFL news. I know there's been a lot of stuff. LeBron got injured in the NBA. Lakers, Cavs. There's this debate going on between Barkley and Kendrick Perkins. All of that stuff we will save for tomorrow. But tonight it's strictly college basketball. So let's get into it. As you saw in my story, I went to Assembly Hall. I was at IU, Ohio State. We want to talk about that game. Really great experience. Assembly Hall is a must-get-to venue, I feel like. Okay, let's kind of start on Friday night. Illinois beats Purdue. Illinois, they in the second half they shot well, caught the second half of this game. Illinois has gotten healthy, and it looks like they're gonna be a threat in the Big Ten tournament, and in March they're probably gonna be around a 6-7 seed, and they'll be a trendy pick. I mean, Jaka Jonas had the big three late, but I mean, Will Riley had 22, Trey White had 20, Boswell, who's been in a tournament before, been in big spots, had 15. They were 11 for 30 for three. Purdue collapsed down the stretch. Look, Caleb First, senior, nice, 0 points. Got to give him something. Braden Smith had 18. He almost had triple-double, actually. He had 18, 9, and 12. He's played very well. Does Purdue make a deep run into the tournament? They'll have to guard play. But, I mean, think about it. Smith had almost a triple-double, and Trey Kaufman ran at 29. And they still lost by 8. And I know it's on the road, but Fletcher Loyer didn't have a bad game either, but can those other guys help you out? They're going to need Miles Colvin to step up. They're going to need Jakari Harris, even though he's played well this season. They're going to need C.J. Cox to give them some decent play. And Caleb First, if they're going to start him, he's going to need to give them some play, some good play. That's all I got to say really about that. That was Friday night. Saturday, let's start with the bubble teams. Georgia, for the first time since 2015, will be going to the NCAA tournament. They knocked off the Commodores of Vanderbilt 79-68. Both teams will be going to the NCAA tournament regardless of what happens in Nashville. Vandy kind of, even though they lost 2 games this week, which isn't great, they're still going. They clinched that a couple weeks ago. Georgia was a loss. It would have been dicey. Still think they would have went. They win. They are now in. They have won, I believe, now it's 5 in a row. Or 5. No, it is 4 in a row. And they're great win, and they have great wins this season, obviously. They beat St. John's, which is great. They beat Kentucky. Oklahoma's playing better, so that's a decent win now. They beat Florida, obviously, at home. You beat Vandy. They play Oklahoma again, actually, in the SEC tournament. The SEC tournament, I will tell you guys, or I'll actually show you guys the bracket. It's in, it's insane. What's going to be like in Nashville? Starts Wednesday. That's going to be a great tournament. That's a bubble team. Arkansas. Is Arkansas going to the dance? They started off really bad. Arkansas finds a way to beat Mississippi State 93-92 in just a hard-fought game. There were, as Bill Raftery would say, or Coach Raftery would say, there were a lot of onions in this game. DJ Wagner hit the big three to put him up. Mississippi State had a great look at the end. Just couldn't put it down. Mississippi State, if Josh Hubbard has a better game, you can make the argument they win. It's 4 for 16. They're just putting it together at the right time. DJ Wagner obviously had a great game. Jonas Adu, 21 and 10 off the bench. John Neal Davis. And they're 19 and 12, 8 and 10 in the conference. They are, I think they'll be in. I think they're going to go dancing. When you look at their wins, they have a good win over, they have a great win actually over Michigan. They did beat Georgia. Georgia's going to the NCAA tournament. They won on the road at Kentucky. They won at home against Missouri. They won on the road at Vandy, and they won against Mississippi State. If they had just beat South Carolina, they probably wouldn't be in the last four in discussion. Depending on what happens, because South Carolina is their first game, depending on obviously on what happens around the country, I don't know if I'd say they're a lock. But last four in still, if they lose to South Carolina, they're going to Dayton. You can't lose to them twice. So if they lose to them, they're going to Dayton. South Carolina's just always, for some reason, when Cal is here, that's just always a tough matchup for the teams that he's coaching. But yeah, big time win by Arkansas. They're on the bubble. Another bubble team that won, Xavier, won 76-68. Xavier has an interesting resume because they have really one big win. And they have a good record, but they beat up on some mediocre bad teams. It'll be interesting to see. I think if they beat Marquette, who they play in the Big East tournament, which we'll get to the upper tier of teams in terms of the NCAA tournament in a minute, they'll go dancing. West Virginia wins 72-65. West Virginia was ranked at one point. They were playing well. They've kind of, I don't want to say fallen off completely, because they are gonna go to the NCAA tournament. I feel like that Gonzaga win isn't as great as it was, but they beat Arizona at home, which is a good win. They won on the road at Kansas. They beat Iowa State. I know they've kind of struggling here and there, but I think they'll be in the NCAA tournament. Javon Small has been their best guard, obviously. They beat UCF, which Texas A&M, that's a bad loss that they had to lose to them in the first game of the season. But yeah, it looks like West Virginia. And again, I don't know what the committee's looking at in terms of, I guess they will look at the quad one wins, and then probably the conference record, and they would decide off of that. Oklahoma and Texas, Texas, if they don't go on a run, they may have to win the SEC tournament, but they're done. They killed this one killed the chance. The Georgia one was bad, but this game, because if you had won this game against Oklahoma, you you wouldn't have been in, but you probably, if you had won 2 or 3 games in the tournament, you probably would have a good chance to just get in. Now it feels like you have to go win the whole thing. Oklahoma, they've had some close calls. They've been playing better. They're another team that even if they lose to Georgia in the first round, it gets dicey. I don't know if the committee will put them in. They have some. They have some great quad one wins. It's really going to get interesting about how the committee is really going to look at this bubble and see these teams. Especially, it's going to be interesting how they see the SEC because Oklahoma's 6-12, which is not good in terms of the conference, but it is a very tough conference. Most of those teams are going to go to the NCAA tournament. I mean, Mississippi State could maybe what, a 9 seed, maybe 9, 8, 7, somewhere in that range. Georgia's probably going to be a 10, which is a great. Vandy, they'll probably be a 10. Sorry, Bucks are getting their butts whooped against Cavs here, but Arkansas, they'll if they're in, they'll be in 11. But the top of the standings, Auburn, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, 3 of those teams could be a 1. And I mean, Kentucky, they finished like 5th, 6th. I think it was 6. They have an argument to be a 3 or 4. It's just it'll be interesting to see how the committee deals with the SEC conference. But I will say, if you're in that top 10-ish, I'm pretty sure you're good to. You may go, even though Arkansas they're 9th. I think they've done enough to put themselves in the dance. Speaking of the dance and where I was at Assembly Hall for Indiana versus Ohio State. The Hoosiers beat Ohio State 66-60. I put on the IG story. If you don't follow me, it'll be in the link in the description. I put big one in the Big Ten. The winner, because of this new expanded Big Ten, the winner gets that single bye. Which, if you were 1 through 10, you'd get the single bye. But now, if you're 10, you have to play 15, which is the team that just barely made it on Wednesday. So yeah, you didn't want that. Indiana wins 66-60. They clinched the single bye. They sweep Ohio State. For Ohio State, this was a quad 1 game. For Indiana, it was quad 2. The Hoosiers in the regular season with no quad 2, 3, or 4 losses. All of their losses are in quad 1. They have rode the ship. They're 5-2 in their last 7. They're 3-1 in their last 4. Their only loss coming on the road to Oregon, and that's because Oregon Shellstad hits a big 3, a deep 3. Indiana, I think, is in the NCAA tournament. Now, where will they be? I think they could be last 4 in. I think they'll probably last 4 in. If they beat Oregon, if they beat Oregon in their first game in the Big Ten tournament, as long as we don't have a record of like 6 bid stealers like last year, Indiana will be dancing, and they may not even have to go to Dayton, which would be huge considering where this team was 4 weeks ago, looking like they were dead, not even in consideration. This game was ugly. Let's just keep it how it is. This game was ugly. To start the game, both teams could not make a shot. Ohio State was them only being up four at the half. That was bad. And I say it was bad because if they were up double figures, they probably win the game. Indiana probably starts pressing in the second half. And it was tough. Ohio State, they got up they were up 10. They were up 46-36 in the game. And then they got outscored 30-14 after that. Trey Galloway hit 3 huge threes in the second half. He hit the one in the corner to cut it to 5 when it was 40 to make it 46-41. When it was 56-51, Indiana just took the lead. Ohio State won 601. He hit one from the top of the key. And then obviously 58-56, the shot clock, I don't know what was going on there. I still don't know. I guess they reset by accident. I don't know. He took a deep three and he drilled it. The teams were horrible shooting. I mean, Indiana shot 35%. They were 5 of 25% from three. Ohio State, they shot 38%. They were 8 of 26 from three. Michael Parrish had a nice game. He played well. Bruce, shout out to Anthony Leal, by the way. The defense he played on Bruce Thornton was absolutely incredible. Bruce Thornton is one of the best guards in the Big Ten, and they just shut him down. Look, when your guards, if you're Ohio State, goes a combined 2 for 12 from three, and then they go a combined 5 for 21 from the field. That's not in a game like this. That's not good enough. In a big game like this, your guard play to kill you. Indiana's guard play was just a little bit better, mainly Trey Galloway. He was better than both of those guys. And I know people are going to look at the free throws. Well, Indiana shot 31 free throws. Ohio State. It was a physical game. There were some bad calls on both sides. Ohio State, they had to foul late, try to extend the game and everything like that. I don't think the refs were bad for both teams. I'll just say that. And leave it at that. Renew had 16, which coming off the bench when they got him going, that was crucial. The debate about Indiana here, are they in? Like, firmly in? I would say yes. I thought the winner of this game would be. Ohio State now has work to do. They have to go and beat Iowa in the Big Ten tournament, and then they get a shot. And then if they do that, they get a shot at Illinois, which will be a quad win game. Do that, and I think you still could be in now. You'd be 19-15. That's dicey. That's 19-15. I don't know if that gets you in. I think you could. I would say because of the wins, some of the wins that you have, you may be in but not by a lot. You'd be right on that cut line. And again, if somebody still, they could be. Ohio State could be the last team in, and if somebody last second comes in and steals a bid, they're gone. So I don't know. Indiana, there's going to be a debate, I think, over the next week. Are they last four in? Are they last four buys? That's a big difference. Last four in, you have to play on Tuesday, Dayton. If your last four buys, you potentially don't have to play till Thursday or Friday. Obviously, I think Indiana, they win against Oregon. They're firmly in. And if they beat up Michigan State again, there's no debate. Firmly in. But that three by Trey Galloway, big three, I think it sent them to the NCAA tournament. I think it did. That was big time by Trey Galloway. Indiana in Oregon, the rematch will be a physical contest. Let's get into more of the upper tier teams, but last bubble team, North Carolina. They put up a fight, but they lose 82. Duke wins 82-69. Duke claims the outright ACC title. Malik Brown came in and he changed the game completely. He was a big difference. Cooper Flag played well. They were really balanced in this game. North Carolina, to me, people will look at the record. Well, they're 20-12, 13-7 in the conference, but they have one quad one win. Like they have one quad one win. Coming up here. And let me look at just look it up. ACC tournament bracket here. They are what? Let me see here. Where are they? To the ACC tournament. They are the 5 seed. So they not only are their tournament hopes kind of dashed, they don't even get the double bye. So again, they're gonna have to get to the final. And I know people will be like, well, for a record that good, that's kind of extreme. Yeah, but think about it. The quad one. I mean, I don't know if Wake Forest is a quad one opportunity. But look, there's only gonna be 3 teams. Unless North Carolina goes on a run, obviously, there's only going to be 3 teams that's going to the tournament from the ACC, and that's Duke, Louisville, Clemson, which are the top 3 teams in the league. Shout out Pat Kelsey. He should win Coach of the Year. I know people will be like, Auburn, Florida. Where that program was last year at this time to where they are now, it's an incredible turnaround. Yeah, Duke finds a way to win it 82-69. And North Carolina's got some work to do, which they should be able to win the first 2 games, and then maybe third time's the charm. I don't know. Auburn beats Alabama in a classic 93-91. Auburn has lost 2 in a row. I chalked the Texas A&M loss up to, okay, Texas A&M is a desperate team. Auburn had just won the title outright, maybe celebrated too much, and they got beat. Now I'm not chalking that up. Auburn, I'm chalking that up, but Auburn, they have yellow flag. I won't call it a red flag. They allowed too much dribble penetration in this game. And it allowed the bigs of Alabama's big, Amori Grant Nelson. Shout out Grant Nelson. He played really big to get some offensive rebounds, and it allowed them to get some easy buckets. Mark Sears hit the game winner, obviously. Mark Sears didn't even play that. He wasn't that great today. I don't think he was that, or today. I don't think he was that great overall. Janai Broom, 34 points, 8 boards. He was 5 blocks. He was incredible. He was incredible. A big thing was Chad Baker Mazar got thrown out. Uh, it's been a problem all year with his flagrants and stuff. He can't be doing that going to tournament time. He can't be doing that. That Pettiford had 19 off the bench. Auburn, look, they had a bad week. They had a bad week. So I'm not really going. They had a bad week. So again, I'm not going to be like, oh, Auburn's fell off. Auburn, they're not the best team in the country anymore because they had a bad week. Because Duke has their flaws as well in terms of late game situations. They just haven't been able to close in terms of that. But there will be a new number one. Uh it will be Duke. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is. Auburn, they're the 1 seed in the SEC tournament. Houston beat Baylor. Is Baylor in? I think so. Have some good wins this season, Scott Drew. They've been a team that's disappointing as well. Tennessee, they clinched the double bye. They beat South Carolina 75-65. Florida, who's playing outstanding, who's playing probably the best basketball in the SEC. They got the double bye, clinched the 2 seed in the SEC tournament. St. John's at the buzzer. R.J. Lewis was incredible at 28 in the game. They beat Marquette. Patino, man. And Marquette played really good basketball late. A lot. El Jafor, man, it's just St. John's, their will to win has been incredible this year. Iowa State took care of business against Kansas State. Clemson took care of business about Virginia Tech. Maryland finished 17-2, at home this season. They clinched the 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. Kentucky, down a couple of guys, goes on the road to Missouri, who Missouri hasn't been playing as well. And they knock off the Tigers, which that's big for Big Blue Nation. Mark Pope talked about wanting to go to the SEC tournament and winning it because they know what the SEC tournament title means to Kentucky. They hang a banner for that, I believe. That means a lot. So he obviously wants to go and win that. Most shocking result of the day: Penn State, who didn't even qualify for the Big Ten tournament, they go on and beat Wisconsin 86-60, 86-75. Wisconsin, no Max Klesmit. Kohl Center, that's college basketball, man. So glad Mike Roach got his guys up to play, and they won, and by double figures. Maybe that can carry some momentum into next season. Kansas knocks off Arizona 83-76. Hunter Dickinson. Kansas, they're going to be playing through him. They've also been a disappointing team. They played, I think, decent against Houston. They came up short. They didn't come up short yesterday. They found a way to win. Zeke Mayo played a really good game. He had 20. Arizona, they're kind of struggling down the stretch here. So they're going to go into the Big 12 tournament and try to resolve some things. By the way, 64% at the line for Kansas. That's a little bit concerning, but that's fine. Obviously, let's look at the conference tournament. First, it's the ACC. Hold on. Here we go. ACC. Let's share it. ACC. There we are. The ACC tournament schedule. Obviously, you're seeing it. Notre Dame plays Pittsburgh. Virginia Tech plays Cal. Florida State plays Syracuse. And then winners of those games. I've got Duke to win it. I know that's not true. I got Duke. That Louisville Clemson game in the semifinal, assuming they both take care of business, that'll be an interesting game. But the ACC has always had some drama involved, but those were stronger leagues. I don't think this league is obviously not as strong as years past. So it is what it is. Let's go to the Big Ten, field, a tournament. Minnesota and Northwestern play in the 12-13 matchup. Ohio State and Iowa play in the 10-15 matchup. Rutgers plays USC in the 11-14 matchup. And obviously, the winner of those, the only matchup set for Thursday is Indiana and Oregon, noon in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Who's going to win this tournament? It's dicey. I don't know who's going to win it. I'll have predictions later. I know I made the ACC was easy. That'll be easy. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting time in Indianapolis. Uh, I think that those top 9 teams may go to the NCAA tournament. It's going to be some tough games. Purdue, by the way, the double byes, Michigan State, Maryland, Michigan, UCLA. And then after that, Purdue 6, Illinois 7, Wisconsin is 5, Oregon and Indiana 8-9. So those games, that Indiana Oregon game is, if you thought it was physical the first game, it will be way more intense. It will be way more intense in physical in that game. In the second time around they meet, Indiana's going to want some payback after the way it went in Eugene. Now, the first round of the SEC tournament, people will usually be like, "Oh, it's just first round." It's stacked. They're bubble teams playing for things. And then in the 9-6 in the okay, let's just start here. First round. 9 seed Arkansas. They take on 16 seed South Carolina. South Carolina beat Arkansas literally last week. So South Carolina is going to probably come in with some confidence. Arkansas, you can't have this loss. In terms of your NCAA tournament resume, you can't have it. Texas and Vanderbilt in the 12-13 game. Vandy, they're going to the NCAA tournament, but you're in Nashville. You're in your own backyard. You want to try and make a run here, and they've made a run occasionally to tournaments. Texas, if you lose, you're done. So you're going to need a run. LSU plays Mississippi State. Mississippi State, you just want to start playing better going into the NCAA tournament. Oklahoma and Georgia. Georgia, you want to continue the wave of momentum going into the NCAA tournament. Oklahoma, you need this win. Beat Georgia and you solidify yourself in the NCAA tournament. You lose, it gets dicey. Your double byes. Auburn is the 1 seed. Florida is the 2 seed. Alabama is the 3 seed. Tennessee is the 4 seed. Then your single byes. Texas A&M is the 5 seed. 6 seed is Kentucky. 7 seed is Missouri. 8 seed is Ole Miss. So the SEC in Nashville, it's gonna be crazy. I cannot wait to watch that tournament. In terms of the Big 12, Cincinnati plays Oklahoma State in the first game. That's the 12-13 matchup. TCU plays Colorado in the 9-16 matchup. Arizona State plays K-State in the 10-15 matchup. And Utah plays UCF in the 11-14 matchup. Utah fired the coach. Then in terms of the double buys, Houston is the 1 seed, Texas Tech is 2 seed, Arizona's the 3, BYU's the 4, 5 is Iowa State, 6 is Kansas, 7 is Baylor, 8 is West Virginia. It's going to be some interesting games in the Big 12. A potential Kansas Arizona rematch could be on deck. BYU Iowa State potentially would be great, and then I would love to see Houston and Iowa State again. A potential Texas Tech Kansas matchup too could be interesting. So yeah, I just think this Big 12 tournament, some interesting matchups for some teams that will be in March Madness. And that conference is always physical now. The Big East men's basketball tournament, last one I'm covering. Then we're getting out of here. Providence and Butler in the 8-9 matchup. Both teams not going to the NCAA tournament unless they steal a bit and win. But one of them, the winner gets the 1 seed, St. John's. DePaul and Georgetown play in the 7-10 matchup. Villanova and Seton Hall play in the 6-11 matchup. In terms of there's no double bye here. It's just single bye. St. John's is number 1 seed, then Creighton's is number 2, Connecticut, UConn 3, Xavier 4, Marquette is the 5. If Xavier beats Marquette, they go to the NCAA tournament, I believe. St. John's is basically in there. It's basically just a home games, home tournament. UConn will have a good fan base out there. It'll be interesting to see if they face Seton Hall again. Seton Hall beat them earlier in the season, but then just got embarrassed. It's in a neutral site, round 3 potentially. So we'll see how potentially if that happens, how that goes. Villanova, obviously, they want to go to the NCAA tournament. They're going to need a deep run. Villanova and UConn, anytime they get together in MSG, seems like it's always fun. So yeah, Big East tournament. I'm most excited, obviously, for the SEC tournament. It's going to be insane. But March is here. And let the madness begin. I will have March Madness selection show coverage on Sunday. I will be reacting to the bracket right after it comes out. Okay, I will be back tomorrow with some of this NFL free agency / contract extension stuff. It's been a crazy week in the NFL. But that will do it for tonight's episode of the Don't Argue with the Facts podcast. I've been your host, Noah Love, and until next time, see ya.